If you have an interest in horses and love learning more about horses, the horse industry, teaching, or even managing your own horse business, then you're in the right place. We would love you to join us on our mission, which is to improve the lives of horses around the world through the education of riders, handlers, and trainers. So get comfortable, listen in, and enjoy.
This has been another episode sponsored by Online Horse College. If you haven't had a look at the wide variety of equine-specific accredited courses, then go to onlinehorsecollege.com and I'll see you over there. If you need help with copywriting, public relations, social media, email marketing, graphic design or website design, then talk to Sophie Barrington at Archer Creative. She gives a wide variety of services to help you increase your bottom line through investment in marketing dollars. Simply go to horsechats.com, search for Sophie, search for Barrington, or search for Archer Creative. Now, today we're going to talk to Lucy Chester. Lucy's from the UK. She's a horsemanship instructor. She teaches people how to listen to their horse, and she's specialising in liberty. How are you today, Lucy?
I am very well, thank you.
Fantastic. Lucy, do you have a favourite quote you'd like to talk to us about?
I do. It's a bit of a long one, but It's something that's kind of followed me throughout my horsemanship journey, which is, don't let the fear of the time it will take to accomplish something stand in the way of your doing it. The time will pass anyway. We might as well put the passing time to the best possible use.
Yes. It's sort of like, well, if it's going to take me 10 years to do this, well, what would you be doing in 10 years' time anyway? You may as well do it.
Exactly. You might as well do it properly.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, I'd like to talk to you about liberty and how you got started with liberty and everything else. But before we even do that, can you talk about what is liberty? So if someone's listening to us and they've never heard the term liberty before, what would you say if you were going to define it?
So liberty is the freedom of choice. So for me, it's really important that the horse has the opportunity to choose to engage in whatever you're doing, and that they also have the opportunity to say no. And a lot of people think that this means that you can't say no to the horse, but I also think that's important, that if we listen to their no, then they should listen to ours. You know, for safety, if they were going to run into a road or something, obviously you would say no. So it's not kind of letting your horse walk all over you, which is what a lot of people think, and it puts them off wanting to do liberty. It's just improving your communication, understanding, and just really giving your horse their own voice. Okay. So you're talking about how being a horsemanship instructor, you teach people how to listen to their horse, but you've really got to listen to your horse when you're doing liberty, haven't you? Yeah. You really do, and very subtle communication that you have to be really in tune with, kind of, and not make any assumptions.
Yep.
It's tricky, but it's very rewarding.
It's tricky because if it's done wrong, it can be dangerous, can't it? If it's done right, it is very rewarding. But you've got to know what you're doing. Yep.
Yeah, and I think kind of sometimes people put their expectations are too high of the horse, and they'll try too hard or put too much pressure on, try too much too soon.
Yes.
At the beginning, it's very much kind of when the horse first realises that they can say no, kind of you really have to accept that and go through kind of a bit of a tricky period before things start to get easier. And then the horse realises that actually spending time with you is fun, and what you're offering to do is fun. And it really is a big kind of game changer.
Yep. How did you get started with liberty?
So it's something I've always dreamed of, kind of watching films like Black Beauty as a child, just having a relationship with a horse that wasn't based on force. And then kind of as I grew up, I watched a few horsemanship demonstrations at local shows. And then when YouTube kind of launched, I started watching videos of people being at liberty with horses, and it just really seemed magical to me, and something that I knew I wanted more than anything.
What do you think then, thinking about traditional trainers and instructors, what, as a liberty coach, liberty instructor, horsemanship instructor, what do you think is different? Is it just the choice to teach a different discipline, if you say, or a different type of horsemanship, or do the people who teach liberty have a different skill set or personality trait?
Oh, that's a really interesting question.
I'll tell you why, because what I look at is if people are listening and they're interested in a career with horses, you know what type of person is going to suit this type of work?
So it's got to be somebody that's willing to give up all of their own kind of expectations and ego and put the horse first. That's a really key thing. But I mean, I teach a lot of people that have come from a very traditional background, and the only real difference is that instead of focusing on what the person wants from the session, it's about what the horse can offer or what can we do for the horse. And that kind of opens up the doors to the human kind of achieving their dreams anyway. So it's interesting for me because often people say, oh gosh, my horse has never done this before, or oh, I've never thought of it that way. It's looking at things slightly differently and letting everything that you've probably already been taught about horses just go out the window, because it is a different approach. But there's a lot you can learn from all different approaches. I think I wouldn't say it's completely different. I've drawn a lot of my experience from other types of horsemanship, and I used to play polo and things like that before I found Liberty work.
Okay. All right, so if someone comes to you for the first lesson and says, I'd like you to teach myself and my horse as a partnership to do some Liberty work, what's the first thing you teach? How do you get started?
So usually I work on relaxation first, because the horse really needs to be thinking and comfortable with the situation. So I'll just get the owner and horse kind of in tune with each other by walking around, getting their footsteps in sync with each other, seeing if the horse mirror the human's kind of body movements by lowering their kind of head down to the ground, seeing if the horse can do the same thing. And then kind of once that's established and we've kind of said to the horse, hey, the session's really about you and we really want to try and communicate with you, then we'll unclip the lead rope and really try and look for that moment of connection where the horse chooses to come to the owner. It's quite kind of an emotional thing quite often.
Okay, and that's normally in the first session?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it depends what people come with you, but if somebody comes and says, oh, I'm not really sure what I want to do, just to have a better bond with my horse or something, then that's kind of my general first lesson.
Okay, and then do people come to you with a riding problem that you solve through Liberty?
Yes, and I love those lessons.
Okay.
They're just fascinating to me because often it's people who wouldn't necessarily want to do Liberty work, but they've got a problem that hasn't been solved otherwise. So they kind of, it's like a last option. And they're always really rewarding lessons.
What sort of problems?
So often horses who won't collect or be on the bit, because often it's kind of quite traditional people. Or horses that won't relax, horses that won't kind of go long and low, horses that are very forwards, slow down, or horses that won't move. It's kind of things that are quite extremes generally.
So these are like evasions from the horse, running through the aids and okay.
And not feeling kind of, it's just often that there's just something, it's usually a relationship's there because they've got a rider that wants to work it out. They're not willing to just get rid of the horse and get a horse that doesn't do whatever it's doing. But, it's someone who wants to work out the problem. And I love that because those riders are really easy to work with because they'll listen and they'll take on board what you're saying. And then the changes often happen very quickly.
You talked about you saw a few horse people and you thought that this was the type of work that you wanted to do. But going back, what was one of the early lessons for you where you went, you might have been trying one way and all of a sudden you got like a bit of an aha, oh, right, that's how it works. That's what happens. Have you had one of those? And I'm thinking about you when you first started, because if you've had it when you first started, yeah,
definitely. I have distinct memories of having no idea what I was doing and just thinking, no, I'm just going to try this and see if it works. And it didn't work so many times. I think I was trying to ask a horse to go sideways And then eventually, the horse understood. And I think a lot of it's learning timing. When do I reward the horse?
Yes.
Because if it's too late, then they don't know what they've done correctly. Or if it's too early, you've kind of interrupted the moment. So I think the biggest moment for me was I was bringing a pony who didn't like walking through water. And I tried everything, force, kicking. I don't think I used a whip back then, but nothing had worked that I had been taught. So I bought a book. I can't remember who it was by, but it kind of gave a few different options of things you could do.
Yep.
So I tried getting off and walking through myself and giving some treats through the water.
Sure.
And it was a freezing day. I got absolutely soaked and cold, but the horse walked through the puddle. Mm-hmm. And he got lots of treats and lots of fuss. And from then on, puddles were not a problem. I just remember feeling really proud that I had solved a problem myself in kind of a way that I hadn't been taught. So that was, I guess, the beginning of kind of looking elsewhere for knowledge.
Just so that people don't just look at you and say, oh, it's all right for you. Lucy, you already know what to do and it's easy for you. If they know that you started off and had a problem and you're able to solve it, it sort of gives them a little bit of hope. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, when I bought Teo, my pony, I had no clue. I cried all the time and felt that I wanted to give up. The thought crossed my mind about selling him. Yeah. So it was a real low point. And I think, you have to keep looking, keep searching and reading and looking at videos on YouTube, find a different instructor, keep fighting for the dream, really. I was absolutely determined that I was going to have a good relationship with him. Okay. And, it was hard, but worth it.
Yes. And your pony, what's your pony's name again?
Teo. T-A-O.
Yep.
A weird one.
Is he's the horse who really has influenced you the most?
Yeah, he changed my whole life.
Is he the one on your website where you're sitting down next to him?
Yeah.
And he's laying down. It's a beautiful photo.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the most challenging horse I've ever worked with.
Yeah. I usually ask people about their proudest moment. Is it a proud moment with him? Is it an ongoing, you're proud every day you achieve something, or what can you say about that, or what makes you happy? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Most of them are with him because they're the moments that I learn the most with him, I find. But each proud moment, is topped by a new one with him all the time. And they're not kind of the moments that people will think, we're not out winning rosettes and things like that. But things like going for a short ride, just the two of us, is really huge for him because he has severe separation anxiety. Okay. So little things like that, showing that our relationship is good enough, that I'm enough, even for short rides. That to me means more than, going out and winning a competition, because it's about the relationship.
So what sort of things, thinking about Liberty, like, if he trusts you a lot more, and I know that you're asking him to lay down, what other things are you going to teach the Liberty horse?
So it's communication. So even things like coming in from the field, things that are really useful, like I'll turn him around, throw his rope over his neck, and he'll stand and wait at Liberty while I do up the fence. And then he gets a treat, and then we walk in together. It's kind of things like that's communication and a routine. It gives him a job to do as well. He's not just kind of standing waiting for me. He's kind of thinking, I've stand waiting, I'm going to get my treat in a minute. I think having a horse that's using their brain all the time is what keeps them stimulated and keeps them offering things and being really interested in you and what you've got to offer them. Okay. So even kind of out on a ride, for example, I'll let him loose and I'll walk next to him. And that's amazing, that we're out kind of together and, and he stays with me and he's interested in what's going on. It's really developing his self-confidence.
Yep.
And I love that. That. I don't have to worry all the time that, and then if something does happen and I've got the lead, I know that his mind's with me. Mm-hmm. So you've got more control and more of a connection because you've got your horse's mind rather than, having less communication and less understanding. Where you're always worried, that you're going to lose, or a horse is going to run off or something like that. It's just,
sure.
I just love it. It's very different.
Yeah. And just to do with the rewards, there's two questions. One is, what type of rewards? You're talking about food rewards and a treat, but what is the treat?
So he has a mixture, so different things for kind of the importance of what he's doing.
Okay.
So usually I'll use meadow nuts that are very low calorie because he's on the large side. So, he'll do anything for them, but they're not as important as I've got some like nice apple treats that I'll use for the things that I'm asking for. Like when I go out hacking, I'll take a higher value reward because it's more important that he's with me on a hack than if I'm just bringing him from the field.
Yep. And then you were talking before about the timing of the reward, about how you said sometimes it's too late and they can't remember what they're getting the reward for. Otherwise, if it's too early, you interrupt the moment. What's the best timing?
Yeah. So it's when the horse has the thought of going to do so. For example, if you're asking them, can you go backwards?
Yep.
And when they shift their weight. If you can reward when they shift their weight, you've caught the thought before the action. And I found that way they learn a lot quicker. And it's just, I find that a lot of the time in the beginning when you're teaching, people don't recognise, they haven't learned yet when to reward. And the horse will offer something really great and they've missed the moment.
Yes.
And I think that's such a huge, and for me as well, I was the same when I first started. You learn and then, everything gets better once your timing is better because you notice. And it is partly that as well, learning what to notice. It's great and what deserves a big reward and a big fuss.
All right, so I'm just thinking as far as a training tip, to give our listeners something to take away. So first of all, to get the relaxation, the mirroring, the footsteps, but within Liberty, is it the not catching the thought, the timing of the reward that people get wrong, or is there something else that you think is a common lack of understanding?
Yeah, I think a lot of the time people stop breathing.
Okay.
I was thinking about this earlier. What's the most important thing? Probably the most common thing I say is, I'm still breathing. Because when things start to go wrong, or the horse tenses up, the first thing we tend to do is stop breathing, like myself. And I really had to override that instinct with Teo, especially, when he tenses up, I've got to keep breathing because that kind of relaxes your whole body. And that's what they need you to do in that moment to help them stay calm and, find relaxation themselves. And that is so key. And that really is kind of probably the number one thing I think working with horses is you need to be calm and keep breathing, whatever's going on, if the horse is getting tense for any reason.
Yeah. And I think that's a common thing, like a competition thing, or it's a human thing, isn't it? That we stop breathing. Yeah. Okay.
Just I know even when I was younger, my instructors would say, you've got to say the names of the weekdays, as you're riding around, just to make sure that you're still breathing. And I think when you focus very hard as well, you stop thinking about breathing so much. And the horses notice that, they really do. And think, oh gosh, what's that? What is a spook at? What's the human scared of?
Yes. So that's a common misunderstanding with people. What's a common misunderstanding with horses? What if you see a few horses, what's the most common thing that you say, that horse has not got to this stage yet, or that horse is not understanding this?
I think probably, that's really hard. Because there's so many different things. It depends on the horse. But I know a lot of the time, horses, it's more, I guess, the riders with relaxation, realising how much the horses mirror us and our bodies, and kind of nearly every horse, if the rider relaxes, the horse will relax. The only time I found that they won't is if they've got a physical problem. And that seems to be a running theme through, even kind of lazier horses. I don't like using that word, but horses that have less impulsion. Those horses that are preserving their energy a bit more. Yeah, yes, exactly. And they're even often they're holding tensions as well, but they hold them kind of inside, more introverted. Yeah. And that just seems to be a theme that and that's kind of the first level of collection as well. You have to have relaxation first. So that, again, is something I often work with in the first session.
Okay. If you're an equestrian coach or a horse riding instructor, or even if you aspire to be one, have a look at the free video series for horse riding instructors on the Horse Chats website. Go there now, have a look, horsechats.com. Now, I know that you've just written a blog for David Dyer's Saddles, and we're going to actually have those, is it a 3-part blog? And we'll have a link to that on our website, which will be horsechats.com/Lucy Chester. Can you tell us a little bit about what you've written within that series?
So far I've written the first one, and basically that covers the first steps to liberty. So it's not so much about what you do in the arena. The blog is very much about everything else, because what you do in the arena actually is just a result of everything else you're doing with your horse. Like I was saying, how you bring them in from the field, how you are when you tack them up, kind of how you treat them when you're out riding, what you do when they're scared, all of those things, that's what builds a relationship. That's what enables liberty is, a willing horse comes from you putting them first, kind of in every situation, and really always looking to make sure they're as happy and healthy as possible.
Okay. All right, we'll have that, as I said, we'll have that on horsechats.com/Lucy Chester. Now, Lucy, what are you looking forward to at the moment?
Well, I'm really hoping to run some workshops for people. I have a lot of people that want lessons that aren't close enough for me to travel to. So I'd like to do that, so I'll be a bit more accessible. And I also want to go on some courses myself. I want to learn about animal communication.
Okay, that's good.
Kind of, something just to kind of keep improving myself.
And having a very open mind and wanting to learn, I think, is a sign of a good instructor. The fact that they are open and that they're always learning, and then they can impart that extra knowledge to their students. It's brilliant.
It's so important. I'm also really interested in body work, because I think, again, that's important. So often, the instructor's the one that will see a problem first, because you're in a good position on the ground watching the horse move. I've seen that a lot, and I just wish that I would be able to, refer people a bit better. This you could have a physio, vet, farrier, just to be more helpful for the horse to, kind of catch things sooner.
Yep. All right. Now, if you'd like to be able to sum up your philosophy about liberty, about horses, about, working them as a partnership, what would you say in a couple of sentences?
I think that you can't go wrong if you are putting the horse first, even if it means that your wants go kind of what's the right word? They're just, like, for me, I can't even canter Teo because of his arthritis at the moment, and I don't care, because he's happy. He's happy walking. That's fine for me. And that's just the key. The key to everything is putting the horse first, and they'll always know. They always know. Yeah.
Okay. All right, Lucy, people contacting you now, I know you've got Instagram. Is it, if you'd like to tell us about the best way for people to contact you, and whatever those details are, if people don't write them down, they'll be on our website, which will be horsechats.com/Lucy Chester, and we'll put them at the bottom of your page so if people do need to contact you, or go to horsechats.com, search for Lucy or search for Chester to find that page and get those contact details. But what are they, Lucy? What's the best way?
Thank you. So it's www.lucychesterhorsemanship.com. My Instagram is Haflinger@Liberty.
Perfect. All right then, Lucy, thank you very much for the chat today. We'd love to get you back again and talk to you a bit more, especially about liberty and some of your other ideas about partnerships with horses. Okay, so thanks.
Thank you so much.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you for having me. Take care. Bye. Bye.
Now, if you're still there, you probably know that I'm absolutely passionate about education within the horse industry. That's why I host this podcast. My other venture is Online Horse College. Have a look now at onlinehorsecollege.com, and I'll see you over there.
Remember that our comments and instructions are general in nature and do not take into consideration your individual horses, or your individual ability and circumstances. If you enjoyed this podcast, then please leave your comment below.